I love making videos like this. We always talk about guys who are underpaid or overpaid relative to their production, and this is a good opportunity to talk about some of the most overpaid athletes in the NBA. Some of these contracts were originally considered to have good value, but over time, the players severely regressed. Other contracts were horrible to begin with and should have never been offered. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and the concept of this video is pretty straightforward, so without further ado, let's get started. Number 6. Evan Fournier. 4 years, $73 million. Evan Fournier signed this contract back in 2021 with the New York Knicks. And if we're being completely honest, it was a great contract at the time. He was coming off of a career season with the Orlando Magic and continued his excellent play even after he got traded to Boston. While he wasn't an all-star, Fournier was an above-average starting-level shooting guard, so that was a very fair contract he got. His first season with the Knicks, it was alright. Not as good as before, but it was salvageable. In fact, Fournier even broke the Knicks franchise record for most threes made in a season, with 241. Breaking John Stark's record he set back in 1995. However, now he's not looking too good. Fournier has been sitting out games sporadically, partially due to personal reasons, but also because he simply fell out of the rotation as he was playing so poorly, averaging like 7 points a game along with by far the lowest efficiency of his career. You combine that with his horrific defense, which has always held him back from being a true star. But this time, his offense isn't saving him. That's why he fell out of the Knicks rotation, and that's why this contract is one of the worst in the league. However, according to Brian Windhorst, the Knicks aren't in a rush to get rid of him. Quote, "They'll do business, but I think there's been a concept that they might, attach a pick to get off of Evan Fournier or something like that. But to my understanding, that's not true. I think they would trade Evan Fournier. I mean, he's not playing for them right now. Of course they would trade him. But I don't think they feel any sort of desperation to clear cap space. Maybe they're still holding out on hoping he'd bounce back. Or perhaps they already know his contract is untradeable. Considering he's the third highest paid player on this team, it's certainly a hindrance if he's taking up so much space. The Knicks are in the playoff conversation, but his contract limits what moves they can make. Number 5. Davis Bertans. On November 21st, 2020, the Washington Wizards signed Bertans to a hefty 5-year, $80 million deal. That was shortly after he had a breakout season where he averaged 15 points on 42% from 3, with nearly 9 attempts a game. That's just insane, the ridiculous volume with an even more ridiculous efficiency. Unfortunately, he's basically the definition of a contract year player. Bertans' production fell off immediately after signing that deal, and he came nowhere close to that kind of production again. In Dallas, he's barely in the rotation, averaging just 10 minutes a game. With such few minutes, it's hard to get into a rhythm, especially for someone who's primarily a catch-and-shoot player like him. As a result, Bertans is literally averaging the lowest points per game of his career. It's kind of funny, because I remember when the Porzingis trade happened and Bertans got sent to Dallas, people really thought his production can somewhat fill in for Porzingis, but now he's barely even playing. The worst part is, the Mavs are stuck with his albatross of a contract paying him $16 million a year for nothing, and it doesn't even expire until 2025. I know the Mavs wanted to get out of Porzingis' contract, but at least that was easier to trade away. Luka is entering his prime, but just look at the contracts on this team. Bertans, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s, and Reggie Bullock's, they're all holding the team back. The Mavs cannot put better pieces around Luka if they can't trade away these horrendous contracts. Their payroll is wasted on players like these. Number 4. Russell Westbrook. I bet you didn't see this coming. Westbrook's 5-year, $206 million deal is the largest contract in this video, and he's obviously not producing anywhere near that level anymore. But it's not that bad because it expires by the 2023 offseason. When he signed it, it was back in OKC. He was offered this extension right after his MVP season, so of course nobody criticized the deal. Westbrook deserved it. However, since the start of this contract, he's gotten traded 3 times. But it wasn't until his arrival to LA where the criticisms reached a whole new level. I guess it makes sense. It's Los Angeles, after all. The expectations are sky high. Now everyone gets to see him play under the spotlight, and now everyone recognizes all the issues with his game. Most of it is just due to age, honestly. With his type of playstyle, it's not sustainable as you reach your mid-30s, but there's no doubt in my mind he deserved this contract at the time he signed it. Still, it doesn't change the fact that the Lakers are severely handicapped. And they've been handicapped for the past 2 seasons because of Westbrook's contract. Despite LeBron still playing as great as he's ever played, they can't make any moves to help him when Westbrook is eating up this much of the salary cap. Still, I do feel bad for Westbrook a little bit. He's gravely underperforming, but he's never gotten this much flack before. It's like all the Westbrook haters came out of the woodworks to blast him at the same time, and they were just waiting for the right opportunity. It was especially bad when he exercised his $47.1 million player option for the 2022-23 season. Nobody wanted it to happen, but everyone saw it coming. Of course he was going to take the money. The coaching change to hire Darvin Ham was supposed to help Westbrook regain his form. And it's been a little bit better, but now Westbrook is the most expensive backup point guard in history. Number 3, Gordon Hayward. Hayward kinda fell off the radar once he left Boston, but it's not without reason. In 2020, Charlotte snagged him from the Celtics with a 4-year, $120 million offer, which he happily accepted. Since then, the Hornets haven't made the playoffs, and Hayward has struggled with a multitude of different injuries, so he missed a lot of games. All those foot problems slowly sapped his athleticism and quickness. Hayward is putting up the worst scoring season since his sophomore year, and everything about his game has deteriorated. He struggles to blow by his defenders now, and his three-point shot fell off a cliff. I think when he first signed that deal, it was a bit optimistic at first. The Hornets were a team that was rebuilding, and they needed Hayward's veteran leadership to establish a solid foundation for their young players to look up to. This was the reason why they signed him, and for the most part, he's been a positive influence on the team. Hayward, despite his injuries, has worked relentlessly to recover. And as Coach Clifford said, quote, "He wants to be out there so badly, but we've just got to make sure that he's healthy when he comes back. I think literally you miss him in every aspect of team play because he's just such a good basketball player. He's a decision maker at both ends of the floor and he helps in every aspect. He's a shot maker, his defense is good, he does everything." Hayward has also become a mentor for LaMelo, always giving him advice to polish up his game. Even with his locker room presence, it's still a bad contract. On the plus side, the Hornets aren't in a position to compete in the playoffs, so the cap space he's taking up is not a big deal. Number 2, Eric Gordon. In August of 2019, Eric Gordon and the Rockets agreed to a 4-year, $76 million deal. The thing is, this made sense at the time because the team was still trying to contend for the title. James Harden was still there, Daryl Morey was still there trying to build around him, and they just traded for Russell Westbrook, so the team was going all in. However, immediately after the 2019-20 season, the Rockets blew it up, and Gordon remained the last remnant of the past, as they completely overhauled the roster. Like Gordon Hayward, Eric Gordon also struggled with injuries, but took on a mentorship role for the Rockets' young players. However, he's gotten criticized for taking possessions away from them, so that's an issue too. Either way, it's a bad contract, but the Rockets are tanking, so they have time to burn. And at number 1, Duncan Robinson. Now, this contract is straight up horrible. In the summer of 2021, the Miami Heat re-signed him to a colossal 5-year, $90 million deal. At the time, it was seen as a ludicrous deal, but the Heat were banking on his continued improvement. In the previous 2 seasons leading up to that, he averaged 13 points a game but became a phenomenal 3-point shooter. He was throwing up 8 threes a game on fantastic percentages, kinda like Davis Bertans before he got paid. However, just like Bertans, Robinson dropped off immediately after signing the deal. He stopped improving. His 3-point percentage hasn't reached over 40% since that contract, and now he's fallen out of the rotation completely. I mean, I don't think it's completely his fault. Robinson has always played better with the starters, but they moved him to the bench at the start of the season and placed Tyler Hero in the starting lineup instead. It has not led to good results. Not only have they weakened their bench, but their starting lineup has too many ball-dominant players. I feel like the Heat should be better now than a season ago, but they aren't. It's been due to some questionable lineup choices. To pay this dude $18 million a year to warm the bench, especially on a team that's looking to contend for the title? Yikes. It's a huge blow to their flexibility. And now, the Heat are constrained in the moves they could make to improve their team. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were 6 NBA players with some of the worst contracts in the league. Let me know your thoughts if you can think of any others in the comment section. Which ones did I miss? I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.